To another episode of DFW Spotlight on Business. I'm Heidi Hardy, and it is a beautiful Wednesday afternoon, and we're excited to bring more business talk to you today. I'm excited to jump into introducing my guest today. We have an interesting guy. He's been doing the coaching scene and doing a lot of things in the business world for a long time, and I'm excited about all the things he's going to share with us today. This is Reggie Carney.
Hey,
welcome.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, you are CEO, coach, and consultant at Lead Strong Incorporated.
I am.
That is the official title.
Yes, 14 years.
Yeah,
long time.
Long time, and it means that you've had a lot of great experiences that you're going to share with us today.
Lots. Yeah, we'll share a few of them. Snapshots.
Yeah. Well, and some words of wisdom. That's the other thing that I like to bring is words of wisdom. And one of the things I do also want to do is tell people why I do this show, and I'm a business performance advisor is my title, and as a business performance advisor, what I try to do is talk to businesses, whether it's the business owner, and sometimes it's a CEO, sometimes it's a vice president or COO, but they're people who are doing business every single day, and often they're looking for either just somebody to listen or
right. We need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or somebody who can, maybe listen and make some professional recommendations on what kind of resources are out there.
That's right.
I've been a business owner for many years, and I am a business owner today. And those things, you get in a silo or a vacuum sometimes. And so hopefully we'll be able to share your knowledge and what you do with the audience, and they'll get a lot of great information, but also they'll be coming back to you and reach out to you if they want more.
Okay.
So
great.
We'll talk about how to do that a little bit later.
Excited.
Awesome. Yeah. So this show is about business, and it's specifically about business in DFW. DFW, for anyone who isn't from DFW, is Dallas Fort Worth. It's kind of a little slang there. What I've learned about broadcast streaming radio is anybody in the world can watch this, and often people do, but I'm very connected to our immediate community, and there are tons of business owners and businesses here that are also looking for connections and opportunities to find those resources.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's why we did the show. I also want to mention that I work with a company called Insperity, and Insperity is their mission statement is we help businesses I cannot believe I messed that up. But Insperity helps businesses prosper, helps businesses succeed, so communities prosper. That comes off much easier most of the time.
You got it, though. You
did.
Stuck with it. You stayed with it. You persisted.
Oh, you're such a great coach. Thank you. And I need that. No, when Insperity and I started partnering, that was such an incredible mission statement, and it aligned with my philosophy as well. So if you succeed, if I succeed, our community prospers, and that's really what it's all about, helping each other to do that.
Yeah, my business is about building communities,
right? Which
to me is beyond teams, right? Because in communities, every part and every person matters, and if we can get the most out of every individual, then you got a strong community.
Absolutely. And you have a fantastic story also in your business. at the third part of the show. So don't go away, because we're going to dig into that. But you have a professional side and a personal side to your business that we'll be talking about.
Yes.
And I'm excited to share both sides with the audience. So exciting. The show is sponsored by Real Life Media LLC, and Real Life Media creates podcasts and broadcast radio shows just like this for small to medium-sized businesses, business owners. They have a voice, they have a message, and let's get that out there with some of this awesome digital content. So give a look at that website. It's reallifemediallc.com, and check it out. All right. You can follow us. We have a Facebook page, DFW Spotlight on Business. And I know you have some social media. Do you have social media that you'd like people to tune into?
I do. Lead Strong Inc. Or leadstrong.com is the website.
Okay.
And I'm also an author. So I wrote my first book a couple years ago, Yes, You Can. And so Freedom on Stage is where you can go see a little snippet on what that book is about and also place your order.
That's right. So, yeah. Awesome. So don't forget to do that. Well, the one thing I love about this medium is, most of the time if they're listening and watching, they're also one click away from checking out more information about our guests and about, the things that we talk about. So that's always good.
Awesome.
Well, at the beginning of the show, we have a segment, and it's called DFW Business Beat. And I will introduce you through your bio a little bit more, but I wanted to just dig into this first segment because I thought that it had a pretty good feel to it, and it really flowed into what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So this article, sorry, I'm having a problem with my mic. It's following me. This article is, it's from Forbes, top challenges CEOs and leaders face and how to overcome them. And this is a Forbes. I love Forbes. I read a lot of their articles. I find them on LinkedIn, and they pop up in my email sometime. But this segment is about what's going on in our business community. What are those challenges out there? And then we often have experts like you that we ask these questions and see if you can give us your take on it.
Okay.
Maybe even from a local standpoint, because a lot of times the articles are global, and from a local standpoint, how does this relate to maybe some of the clients that you work with here locally?
Okay.
The number one challenge that was listed in this article is expected high performance in a short period of time. And the way they describe that is leaders and CEOs have high expectations set on them from the get-go. They are expected and required to bring major changes and results to the table starting week one. Not only can this pressure potentially backfire, but it can also stress out the CEO to the point of self-destruction. The fact is that expectations of those around them will not be lowered, so leaders must opt for increasing effectiveness. That's how they describe that challenge. What is it in your professional opinion? Do you see that in the workforce?
Yeah, we do, right? The pace of business is incredibly fast, so much so that it can become transactional, right? So you make that hiring decision, you get a new leader into place. I often say that what's most important to really fuel performance and help leaders to experience liftoff is the connection, right? So really have to understand the person and really make that connection, set those expectations, really ensure that we're setting leaders up for success. And that takes time to invest within that process, because even if they bring the skill, the ability, and the knowledge, they're still transitioning and assimilating into a new company, right?
Absolutely.
A new family, a new group. And it just takes time to figure some things out in order to drive performance.
I would think that some of the best leaders really understand that.
Yeah.
And if you have a board of directors, that's not always, everybody doesn't always agree on that. But when a CEO can come in and see that for what it is, it would make it easier on not just them, but the rest of the team that they work with.
Yeah.
Because stress just slides down.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with just setting honest and clear expectations, right? So when we're about to make this critical hire, communicating in real terms how long it's going to take to get up to speed, right? So I think fast and quick and immediate is the name of the game today. And so sometimes they're just unrealistic expectations as it relates to how quick, how long it'll take to get up to speed.
Absolutely.
Get the results that we want.
So the next one that interested me in this article was conflict management. And they described this challenge as most CEOs recognize that carrying out operations with integrity, diversity, and inclusivity is extremely important for the health of the company. Conflict resolution is a tricky thing that can disrupt the momentum for the organizations. CEOs need to have the ability to resolve conflicts. If they fail to do so and allow conflict to fester, the workplace can become toxic.
Yeah. Yeah, so my reaction to that is a lot can be done ahead of time before the conflict occurs to actually prevent the conflict. So theoretically, we want to act in a preventative mode, right? To plan so that conflict doesn't occur, and so that we might have to think about things that could potentially occur, and then plan based on those things happening. If conflict happens, there's a model that I follow, and it's the Thomas Kilmann conflict model, and there's 5 ways to handle conflict, and we've got to be able to do the dance to identify what conflict we're having and where we need to be. Do we need to compete? Do we need to accommodate? Do we need to collaborate? Avoid it for the moment because it's not pressing, or compromise. And so those are the 5 ways of handling it when it does come up. And not all conflict is bad, right? So we need some conflict, because conflict is just about us all being different, and that is a prerequisite for success, right? We win because of conflict, but it's healthy conflict.
I would completely agree, and you had said this before we came on air. Is the proactive side to that. I love that. I think that many companies, because of the fast and furious pace, that there's a lot of reactive, whether it's emotional reactions or sometimes it's a knee-jerk reaction to something that is in nobody's control, whether it's the market. Change is also can be incredibly stressful and hard, and so if there's some proactive thought behind that, it seems to be easier for everyone.
That's right.
So I appreciate, to me, again, they can go to this article on Forbes magazine and they can check out the whole article. It was very interesting, but I really appreciate that there are I don't know that they've changed that much, some of these challenges, when I read some of these articles, but I do think that more challenges maybe come up with higher levels of technology, the growth of the business. What things would you say create more challenge for the CEO today?
I think just the competition, right?
That's a very good point. Yes, absolutely.
Globalization, technology is speeding up business, right? And so things are moving so quickly, and you're trying not to give your competition an edge, right? And so things are moving really, really fast, and I think a lot of the conflict that we see is coming as a result of that.
Absolutely. So we're going to come back. We're going to take a break here in just a moment, but after the break, I'd love to read your bio. It's a great bio. You've accomplished so much, but I want to also give you an opportunity to connect with the audience, to talk about when it started, where you've been, where you are today, and then what's coming. So this is Heidi Hardy. You're watching DFW Spotlight on Business. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Reggie Carney, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to today's Biz Moment, brought to you by Insperity, inspiring business performance. Today, let's talk about ways to keep yourself and your company out of trouble by avoiding these 5 legal pitfalls related to interviewing. And number 1 is pick the right place. Be cognizant of where you hold interviews. Interview candidates in an open area, a conference room with the door half open, or a room with windows to eliminate uncomfortable scenarios. It protects you and the potential employee if other people can see you and your behavior. Number 2, choose the right time. Don't hold interviews at off times when no one else is around, such as 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. Yes, it can be difficult for a candidate who is currently employed to meet you during business hours, but it is important for other employees to be in the office with you. You can also have future teammates sit in on all or a portion of the interview. Can I get a witness? It's important. Number 3, ask the same questions of everyone. Think through the most important functions of the job to be filled, then shape your questions. You want to ask questions that help you assess which candidate has the skills and behaviors best suited to fill the position. Maintain a form or checklist. Hello, I like to check things off lists of the questions you will ask, making sure to focus on the job's essential functions. Number 4, keep the conversation professional and relevant. Don't let the interview drift too far or too long into personal tangents. For instance, I was interviewing this person the other day, and he was telling me how he went to a theme park and he was on a roller coaster and he got sick. And that is totally an example of an irrelevant personal anecdote. And those can make candidates uncomfortable, distract you from your task of finding a new team member, or open you up to allegations of inappropriate conduct later. So just, cut those out. Number 5. Root out your own biases. Accusations of discriminatory hiring can damage your company. Also, it's just not a good practice. Recognize that it's unlawful to make a hiring decision based on an individual's race, sex, national origin, color, religion, age, or disability. Your job as a hiring manager is to identify the best person to fill the job, not to find the person who best fits your preconceived notion of who should have the job. Think on that for a minute. While you're doing that, stay tuned for more Insperity Biz Moments, business tips for savvy leaders. For more like these, visit the Insperity blog at insperity.com.
And welcome back. You're listening and watching DFW Spotlight on Business with Heidi Hardy. I'm Heidi Hardy, and I'm here in the studio with Reggie Carney.
I'm Reggie Carney.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We got through our first, 15 minutes of the show, and I always enjoy that because it gives us a chance to visit. But I love this part because this is the meat and potatoes of the show. We get to really get to know you and spotlight you. So I'm going to, forgive me, but I am going to read the bio. I think I'm going to end with the areas of expertise, and then you can sort of help us. I'll ask some questions about some of those areas, but it is impressive, and you've done just a lot of great work over the years in your career. So,
Thank you.
Reggie is a coach, consultant, author, and founder of Lead Strong Incorporated. He has over 25 years professional experience, specializing in leaders and teams building community, and achieving greater levels of success in their organizations. He is an adjunct professor in corporate education at the University of Texas, Dallas, and EMBA executive coach at Texas Christian University. Reggie's work is behavior-based and focuses first on better communications and then on effective communication, collaboration, and coaching. His background is electrical engineering, and then he turned leadership into a leadership enthusiast. Reggie is passionate about leadership, team, and organizational effectiveness. He uses his practical business experience, systems thinking, and facilitation expertise to help leaders and teams win together. So I think that's a perfect introduction to you, but I do want to go a little bit deeper into the beginning. You started with, I guess, the education part of being an electrical engineer.
Yes.
But even before then, did you always feel was coaching just a part of that spirit that you had? And so talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I grew up an athlete, and so if I didn't make it to professional sports, then I figured that I would be a coach, and so I didn't. But so I grew up in this world of athletics and being an athlete. And my mom worked for Halliburton Services, right? So an oil company, and she worked around a lot of engineers. And so she came to the conclusion that I thought like an engineer until she used to compare me to, I was a tinkerer, right? And so I used to tinker with everything around the house. And so she thought I came across like an engineer. And so I headed off into engineering, electrical engineering. And my first semester at Kansas State, University, which is where I got my electrical engineering degree from. There was a symposium coming to town, and I had been convinced by my classmates and upperclassmen that only juniors and seniors got interns. And I was on the phone with my mother having a casual conversation and kind of slid that in, that there was a symposium coming to town, and tried to do a drive-by. And so she stopped me, and we went back and we talked about the symposium. I said I didn't want to go, and she goes, "You should." And I said I didn't want to go, and she said, "You should." And then I said, "No." And she goes, "Yes, you are. You're going." So I went. And I got an internship. And so I interned with Pepsi bottling from the time I was a freshman in college all the way through 5 years over the summer, spring breaks, and Christmas breaks.
Wow.
But looking at my, even in my engineering degree, looking back now, there was a favorite class that I had. And I liked a lot of the classes that I had because they were technical and I had to figure things out. I got to build a power amplifier before I left there. But my favorite class was industrial psychology, which deals with people and teams and leadership and, how to be effective with one another, right? And for me, that's the bottom line. That's what makes business go, right? Technically, I think we're smart enough. We can figure some of the things out, but it's the people aspect that causes us to get stuck. And that's where I focus. So when I go into organizations today as a coach, I'm either working with a leader individually at various levels of the organization, or I'm working with a particular team. It could be an intact team within the organization, or the organization as a whole, right? Strategically planning and setting culture and helping them to, on the human side, the leadership side, and the team side, accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, right? Doing the dance, the human dance, I call it.
It is a dance. It's often a daily dance.
Yes.
Well, part of your bio talks about some of your certifications, and I notice you have a certification in EQI 2.0, which is the emotional intelligence. Yeah. I think that just aligns perfectly with that coaching side and then the corporations that you're helping. Tell us how that matches with what you do today.
Yeah, so as a coach working with leaders, emotional intelligence is about first understanding self and how self is wired, what my preferences and tendencies are, and then being able to manage that, right? And then understanding the social component, right? The fact that other people complement us and bring other skills and value to the table, and then being able to build relationships. Those 4 parts: self-awareness, self-management, others awareness, right? And then relationship management. So I first have to do that with the individual that I'm coaching to know where to play and where to enhance and where to support and encourage and challenge. But I'm also coaching them to do the same thing, right? Because we're all different. And if a leader only has one way to lead, one song that he sings or she sings, she's probably going to miss a large population of the audience, of the team that they're trying to reach. So
let's talk a little bit about the PepsiCo. I know you worked for them for even longer than the internship, correct?
Yeah, 12 years with Pepsi bottling. And so I went in as a summer intern and did that for 5 years throughout my college journey. And I was one of those seniors walking around campus pretty calm, cool, and collected because I already had a job.
Sure, absolutely. That's a lot of confidence.
That could be a pretty nerve-wracking process, right, as a senior. But I worked, I came in as a management trainee. I worked as production supervisor, started at Pepsi in Wichita, Kansas, and finished out my 8 years at Pepsi in Mesquite, Texas. And so I was production supervisor, I was maintenance manager, I was production manager for that period, for that 12 years that I was there. That really laid the foundation for everything that I do today. Just learning, the technical side wasn't as hard for me, right? The machine and equipment, the equipment and preventative maintenance processes, that stuff wasn't hard. It was the people side of it that really challenged me. And so it's the foundation. I appreciate everything that Pepsi has done for me?
Corporations, the bigger they are, this is my opinion. I don't have any, Google proof behind this, but it feels, and I've worked for big corporations.
Yeah.
It feels as if there are different layers of politics and human behaviors, and navigating through that can be extremely stressful. So what I heard you say is that 12 years with Pepsi, you really got a taste of how to work with teams, different personalities, diverse backgrounds. I could see that being the case, especially with a big company like Pepsi.
Yeah, absolutely. I got schooled in every way that I could get schooled, right? So working with your people to drive results within the operation and really balancing what they've got going on personally and professionally, and trying to get those expectations and making sure that machines and equipment are running well. And I think one of the misses early on when I was at Pepsi was just the need to get your name out there and your brand out there, because I was just so knee deep in the work itself. I never came up for air to go up there. I used to call them schmoozers.
Okay, right.
The people who are, at the water cooler talking and,
rubbing elbows
and all that stuff. I didn't see the value early on for doing that. But I tell you today, it's a meaningful part of what I've had to do to build a consulting and a coaching practice over 14 years. There's got to be a time for you to go out there and connect and build relationships and to get your name out there.
Well, I want to tell you, I admire you and anyone who puts that much time into your career and then makes that left turn or right turn, you call it what you want, but it's a turn to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You own your own business now.
I do. 2004. So 12 years at Pepsi. And then I actually tried to start my first business after I left Pepsi, which was in the financial services field. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't quite ready yet. Technically, I was ready. So I was going to be a financial advisor, American Express Financial Advisors, and I passed the Group 1, Series 7, Series 63, and all those exams. But then I had to go build the business, right? And so that was hard for me. So I hadn't quite made that engineering shift yet. So I needed to check another box. And so I went to work for Earthlink, and I went to work for them in sales. So I was senior sales manager.
Wow, that's a completely different jumping off point. Well, good for you.
Yeah, it was a different world.
Yeah.
And I like to say, and I was telling the story yesterday, is that's where I grew up as a leader. In Pepsi, I knew a lot because I had been there since I was 18 years old. And so I knew a lot, and probably not as much as I needed to know, right? But I didn't really have to leverage people and relationships as much at Pepsi as I should have, right? But when I went to Earthlink, I didn't know the business. I didn't know the world of sales and consumer sales and business sales and all that stuff. I really had to rely on relationships with people and to drive business through people. So I say often that the higher you go in the organization, the further you get away from the business, your influence skills become incredibly important, right?
Sure.
So not your technical skills. Yeah.
Right. And then I think from a business owner standpoint, we're talking about the corporation level, but this relates to those business owners who are wearing a lot of hats.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the shift that you said, I had to go from an engineer to a salesperson, which I that is tough. So I know many engineers, and sales would be the last thing that they ever decided to do. And so it's a human psychological shift.
Yeah.
So congratulations, because that probably did open a whole new world of triumphs, but also challenges that you saw that were ready to be addressed by your coaching and your talent.
Yeah. I tell you, this whole selling thing was different. I look at it as relationships, right? So if I just go out and genuinely connect with people and build relationships and show an interest in them, I tell you, I have developed a lot of business just by helping people.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So just sowing seeds out there, connecting people, sharing opportunities, collaborating with people, drawing people into opportunities that I've had. They remember you. And if you go in and do great work, then you sell yourself, right? Without going out there and being the traditional, and I'm not that hard salesman, right? I'm not a hard salesman. but I've been able to manage a practice for 14 years with relationships and helping others. Right. It does boomerang back.
You know, I love that. And I think that many people do feel like people, whether they're in sales and I'm in business development as well. And again, I've owned businesses. I know that, when you are a business owner, you have to figure that out, whether it's the relationship or, what is it going to take to make sure that that next contract is coming your way, and that that you're going to pay the bills, and so it is a learning process. And I know, having been there for like the 14 years, one of the conversations that you and I had was a lot of your new business is coming from all those seeds that you sowed.
That's right.
Have sown.
That's right.
You have referrals now, and you have people that are putting those dots together and saying, Reggie was there for me, I'm going to introduce him. And so there is a formula there, and there it's successful.
That's right.
For many people.
That's right.
Including you.
Sometimes the phone just rings and you're like, where did that come from? Right.
It's out there.
And so you just trust the fact that those seeds, right, are working.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So Texas is home. I know you said you were from Kansas.
So I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I've been in Texas for 25 years. So I think there's the 20-year threshold. They'll let you call yourself a Texan.
Absolutely.
But I've definitely
do you have
lived
some cowboy boots? Because that's a prerequisite.
I've had them before, right? But I've actually now lived in Texas longer than I lived in Kansas. So I guess I am a Texan.
Yeah. Well, we have that in common. I was not born here,
right.
But young in life, I came here, and it is one of those things that like you said, there's a threshold. I'm Texan. I'm here,
yep.
And I enjoy our community quite a bit.
Go Cowboys.
Quite a bit. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to go to a commercial, our second break. But I wanted to just give you an opportunity to share what you're doing today so that we can get into the next segment. So give us a little bit of info or a little taste of what's going on today so that we can go to break, and then we can bring that back.
So, personally, professionally,
either one. And I know you have a lot of passion for both. So, just whatever it is that you feel like we can jump into the next segment.
Yeah. So, just trying to polish the coaching component of what I do. I'm always looking to get better. I look at it, this whole journey and whatever you're doing. For me, it's coaching and, leadership and organizational development. And, in school, we had elementary, where we, went a certain way, and you had to take a step back and go into junior high and, to continue your growth. And then you go into high school and you continue your growth. I've applied to the Chief Learning Officer program at the University of Pennsylvania to become an even better coach. And then there's a personal application, a real passion that I have outside of what I do professionally that I want to do as part of my legacy. Right. So how's that as a hook?
Absolutely. He lights up. I'm telling you, he lights up when we talk about this. And it is exciting because Reggie's one of the professionals that apply your skill and your business to the community and serving the community. And that's a much needed service, and I can tell that you're very passionate about it. So you're listening to DFW Spotlight on Business with Heidi Hardy and Reggie Carney, and we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Welcome to today's Biz Moment, brought to you by Insperity, inspiring business performance. Today's topic: employee turnover. Specifically, why employees leave. If you know the causes, it's much easier to prevent the problem. Which brings us to number one. They're motivated by higher pay. No matter how much someone loves working for you, if presented with a better monetary offer, they're probably going to go for it. And honestly, can you blame them? Help counter this by keeping tabs on compensation offered by competitors and/or conducting an annual salary survey to see how employees view their salaries and benefits. Number two, they're not engaged. Employee engagement may sound like another corporate buzzword, but we're here to tell you that engaged employees are known to seek out challenging work, resolve and find solutions to problems, share ideas proactively, provide support to colleagues, and go after training and development opportunities. Sound like good traits? Of course they do. If you want to know more about keeping those employees more engaged, check out our Biz Moments episode dedicated to, you guessed it, employee engagement. And thus begins our segue to number 3. They're bored. High-performing workers need a challenge and a feeling of forward momentum in terms of professional growth and development. Take the time to meet with your employees and be proactive in discussing career and succession plans with them. You won't be sorry. Number 4, they're poorly managed. We all know a bad boss, hello Michael Scott from The Office, can make any employee miserable. And if your employees are miserable, they're not going to stick around. And you know this already. Humans crave routine, structure, and consistency, which are all things created and managed by a good boss. To help managers be the best they can be, make sure they have the tools and the training. Don't intentionally or unintentionally protect bad managers and submit managers to the same performance evaluation process as everyone else. It just makes it fair. Stay tuned for more Insperity Biz Moments business tips for savvy leaders. For more like these, visit the Insperity blog at insperity.com and hold on to those employees, okay?
And welcome back. This is Heidi Hardy, and you're listening to DFW Spotlight on Business, where we like to talk about business here in DFW. We are with Reggie Carney. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. Well, we have sort of the back end of the show that I get even more excited for because we've been talking and I've got tons of questions and I'm sure our listening audience does as well. But I did have a question that I wanted to ask before our break. Okay. And I know you're a coach and we've been talking about that and you're very passionate about it. Been doing it for a while. Mm-hmm. What does your customers look like? Who are you coaching? What does that look like?
So I am an executive coach at TCU, Texas Christian University, and it's in their executive MBA program, Masters of Business Administration program. And so I've got 9 students presently, and so I'm coaching there. I'm also facilitating leadership workshops and coaching at Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, BNSF Railroad, so doing a lot of work out there. Just got another gig with Texas A&M Engineering Extension Services, right? And so they conduct a lot of training, and so we're doing some one-on-one coaching with their executives. And I've got a co-op client who supports about 60 to 70 small businesses. And so we're doing webinars for them.
That's
so
great.
E-learning modules and webinars for them. We do some face-to-face stuff and coaching as well. So that's just a glimpse of some of the things that I have going today.
What a fantastic mix of opportunity that is. Okay. When you said this co-op and then, it's the small business owner and leader, and you're in a I guess why do I lose words? But you're in the corporate environment with BNSF.
Yes.
And from the TCU, there's an educational environment there.
Right, that's right.
So what a great mix of people you probably run into, and just a diverse amount of personalities and levels of understanding. What's the commonality there? What's the if you're looking across the board and I'm coming in and I'm really helping them with.
Yeah, first, I've been delighted on this journey of 14 years. I would have never imagined that I'd be where I am today. I do have to say that I never thought that it would have took me as long as it has taken me to build this business, right? I would have thought 6 months or a year and a half, but it really takes time to really establish a foundation from which to work in business. But the commonality in what I do is about people, right? Yeah. And people are people, and we're different. And so whether I'm working in academia or whether I'm working in corporate America or even nonprofits, I've done work for Sky Ranch and other nonprofits and or government agencies like TEEX. People are people.
Yes.
right? And in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish, we've got to get the most out of people, and that requires us to connect, to make that connection with them, and to really understand what motivates them, and how to coach them, and how to communicate with them, and how to, deal with conflict when it arises, and that stuff's not easy,
No.
right? And sometimes you need an objective person who can come in and facilitate helping out with those issues, right? And so that's where I come in. So I'll never be out of work.
No, ever. In fact, you probably have more work coming up because our things change really rapid, and people, some are better than others at adapting quickly to it. I certainly can understand that these corporations are seeking the services that you offer, because so oftentimes, and again, in my experience, if you're there, you're not seeing the forest through the trees. I mean, you're there. It's right here. Bringing in someone like you who can be a little more unbiased and objective is an opportunity to maybe unravel some of the things that go on for way too long.
Yeah,
very
that's
often.
Right. Bridging the gap and bridging the chasm that's sometimes created in doing business, and particularly when trust has been diminished and eroded. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really takes some skillful listening and to kind of put those things back together. So, but I absolutely love this work and just enjoy making a difference within those organizations.
So, do you often see the light bulbs going off in your coaching sessions and your group sessions? Do people get it? After.
One of the great things about having an engineering background is I'm a systems guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't deal with a lot of fluff, even it may come across that way, but I have a lot of systems, and right. So I have an approach that utilize like a coach. My coaching model is a 4C model. And that's how I navigate coaching. When I go into organizations and I'm talking about connection, or I'm talking about relationships or communication or conflict, I use a color system from Insights Discovery, and you got to experience a little bit of that today in a speaking engagement that I had. And so when I bring in a system and help explain that system and how we apply it to people and teams, and in that we have to be agile and flexible and adaptive, then it does click, because people are used to hearing words, right, to describe some of this stuff, and they buy in or they don't. But when they see it, right, and I a lot of what I do is visual, and I show them, it does click a lot, and it doesn't necessarily make what they have to do easy, but they understand why they have to do it, and they understand why they have to get uncomfortable and what I call build a muscle. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's really about muscles,
Absolutely.
Right? And some muscles we haven't used in a very, very long time, if not ever.
Right.
And so learning to use those muscles becomes challenging. But they buy in and they decide that it's worth it. Right.
It's an opportunity to grow.
It's an opportunity to grow. And there's a universal application too, right? So it's not just about business. You don't just shut the light off when you leave work. You carry it home. I was saying earlier today that if the only time you practice is at practice, you won't become the best that you can be.
Right.
So we have to take these principles of success home as well. And if we practice them in our relationships and in our parenting and in our community, then we're all the better for it, right? And then it becomes intuitive.
Right.
And we do it naturally.
Yeah. You gave a great presentation today. Thank you. And we had a room of people. What was interesting to me, although I was focusing on myself because that's what you had asked us to do, I noticed around the room there were a couple of people that the light bulb seemed to go off, or at least, when you had instructed us to look at the colors that we were picking. And I would think that's part of the reward is to see maybe someone who isn't aware
Yes.
that there is a different way, or a way that they can connect. And I like that analogy that you use from an electrical engineer standpoint, the connections.
Yeah. Systems run our world today, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at air traffic controllers, or there's a system. When you look at our roadways and all the cars in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's a system to manage all of that. And everything else that we do, and we do well, there are systems in place. And I just believe that there are systems for, leading more effectively, communicating more effectively, building better teams and organizations
Right.
and communities. And so that's what I leverage in doing this work.
Well, I am so excited. I know you have talked to us about your profession and your business, and thank you. It sounds exciting, and I'm sure many people that are watching and listening will pick up your point of view and the opportunity to, either reach out to you and use your services, or recognize that maybe coaching is something that they could use in their own personal and professional lives. Yeah. But let's talk about that personal side, because you have a mission and a project that you're working on that you do. He lights up. And so talk to us about that.
Yeah, so this project deals with coaching, but it deals with coaching in our inner cities, right? And so there's an inner city movement where my mission for the rest of my life is to produce more gifts out of the inner city. And by gifts, I mean people, right? Today, for every gift that we produce out of the inner city, across inner cities across America, for every one that we produce, there are a lot that don't make it out. And I want to increase that number significantly. So we've got what I call the Dream Center movement that deals with inner city transformation. And we're starting with a community over in Fort Worth, Texas, and it's the Stop 6 community, where we've got 51% graduation rate. We've got 22% unemployment. We've got 76% low to moderate income, and some other numbers. We've got some crime statistics that we're trying to change. And so there's a partnership that I have with Renaissance Village Family Forward. She's a psychologist, and we've come together with our expertise, and we are applying coaching to families within this community. And so we're building a network of coaches, and we've got a certification process in place. We've got a training process in place to train all different kinds of people, right? Namely, everyday people on these skills, so that they can go in and work for families to fuel them forward. And the theory is, if we can help the family and lock arm in arm with the family as coaches, and it's going to be a team of coaches with these families, is that we can move them to a new reality, right? And they can hope again, and they can dream again. And the beautiful thing from an education standpoint is kids come home to a different environment, right?
Sure.
That helps reinforce what's happening in the school. And so we're doing this one family at a time. We're not trying to recreate resources that are already out there, because there are a lot of people who want to help, and there are a lot of organizations out there who are just waiting to help. But right now we're relying on these families to go figure it out themselves.
Yeah, that is
so
true.
That's why we're going to apply coaching, so that we can lock arm in arm with them and point them in the right direction and help facilitate. This is facilitative coaching, right? Not going in having all the answers, and we've got to go in with the right attitude, right? Not the attitude of having accomplished or achieved or arrived, but we got to go in with humility, make the connection, build the relationship, build the trust, and help make the connections that will fuel them forward and transform our communities. The last thing I'll say about this is we're looking to build a template in this Stop 6 community that we can take to the St. Louis's and the Chicagos and the Detroits and the Philadelphias and all the other inner cities across America, to say, hey, here's the movement in a box. Here's what we've done. You might not do it the exact same way that we've done, but the differentiator is we're using coaching, right? And so we're looking to build a Facebook type community of coaches, trained coaches, to be able to just take one family. So we're asking a team of 2 to take one family and to facilitate them to a new place, right? And let me just say, we're not asking them to leave the inner city. We want them to remain because we want the inner city over the next 20, 50, 100, 150 years to begin to look different.
Yes,
Right? Because people are
absolutely.
staying, they're growing, and they're dreaming, and they're accomplishing things, but they're staying in the inner city.
Well, it's their home.
It's their home. That's right.
And improving their home is a good answer to, like you said, just leaving, because oftentimes moving to another place that's not necessarily a better place.
That's
so, well, that's an amazing effort.
Yeah.
An organization effort, and sounds like you're partnering with some really neat people.
Yes, yes. Dr. Angela Mitchell is my partner over at Renaissance Village Family Forward, and we've got a whole team of people. Miss Shelton and Janelle Shelton and Mr. Washington is doing some extraordinary work over there. So we've got a really good team. We had our first meeting the Thursday before last with our initial network of what we're calling village partners. So we're not calling them coaches, they're village partners. And so we had an initial meeting with some alumni of this Dunbar Pyramid in the Stop 6 community, and beginning to make our case for building this network of village partners.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I can tell that you're very passionate about this. You've put a lot of time and energy into it. And, aside from the obvious loving approach that you're taking for communities, and not just any community, a community that needs help.
Yeah, yeah.
And has needed help for some time. The traditional help that often is out there, like you said, is can be a quagmire. It can be very confusing. Many people give up on finding those resources, and it's the pyramid of needs, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
You
Maslow.
want to, Maslow's. You want to get them beyond that basic level of having to worry about where dinner is and when the lights are going to be paid, and get them to a level, them being anyone who's struggling in any area that can use some coaching and some different points of view.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I had a mentor, Dr. Jackson, who told me this expression, and I know it's been around, but he said, "No man is an island," and it is an island. And I'll tell you, some of our inner city families feel like they're on an island.
Absolutely.
And so the fuel for everything that we're doing is to make them not feel that they're on an island. So that's why we're going to lock arms with them and help facilitate the sometimes bureaucratic process where they sometimes give up. And the two other things. Village partners can also have village partners. So there's really an embedded process here that can really drive some well-needed information into our inner cities to be able to have this transforming effect. I think I've said earlier, maybe I said that here or in our conversation beforehand, that I've applied to the University of Pennsylvania's Chief Learning Officer program, and I'm going to apply that PhD program to these inner city America to try to help with the transformation effort, the movement.
And that'll help you pivot the need, right? So you'll be able to research even more and put more time behind understanding and
right.
I know. I think so many of us want to make a difference.
Yes.
And an impact in the universe. Actually doing it the way that in an organized effort and doing it the way you are and you and your partners are doing it. It's just an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations.
We do believe people want to help, right? Sometimes it's hard to figure out how to help. Sometimes it's hard to figure out if you're really making the difference that you want to make. So that's where I'm bringing the engineering, the Pepsi, the coaching all to bear to make it easier for people to get in there and to make a difference and not to overwhelm them.
Right.
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 Because we're saying you come in and you take one family, and we're going to have a team of 2 to take one family. And that's your thing. And we're going to create the structure, the processes, and the systems to help fuel what you're doing with them.
Wow. So there's a lot of visuals in my mind of how this is going to unfold. And I'm sure it's also been you're the visionary behind this, and then you and your partners. And so, well, congratulations on the progress that you're making on this. I believe with all my heart that we need more people who have had the fortunate ability to succeed in their lives, to give that knowledge, that coaching, even if it's education, to as many people as possible.
Yeah,
and there's just an overwhelming feeling of the more positive energy that's out there, the more we're working together, we're holding hands, we're connecting. We're just energy. That's what we are as human beings.
That's right.
And when we can put that energy in a really good place, it's going to make a difference.
That's right.
So I'm very excited for you.
That's right. I won't get to see the true fruits in my lifetime, right? But again, this is a 100 to a 150 year movement. And as long as we have the handoffs in place where we can hand the baton off and make sure that the movement continues, that's what's most important.
Well, oftentimes, and I know we're running out of time, but oftentimes it is that first person, that first visionary puts those systems in place that makes it a lot easier for it to expand quicker, and for those people who want to help but don't know how. And so again, very excited for you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get you back and we'll get some more updates on how that's going.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thank you for being here. We're really it's just been a pleasure to get to know you even better. And I know we've had some opportunity to meet and talk. I look forward to following you. And we didn't get to mention your book, but real quick, if you'd like to mention that, we'll throw that out there and let somebody know where to get it.
Yeah, the book is called Yes, You Can, My Route to Freedom on Stage. And the book is about having overcome, as an electrical engineer, right, having overcome a terrifying fear of public speaking. And so fast forward, that's what I do today for a living. And there's a 5-pronged process that not only helped me overcome that terrifying fear of public speaking, but it also helped me build my business. It will help me in this inner city transformation. It helped me even write the book itself. But there's a 5-part process that helps in achieving everything that I want to achieve. And I discovered it through overcoming my fear of public speaking. You can get the book at my website, leadstronginc.com, or you can get it at freedomonstage.com.
Okay. Thank you so much again for being here. Next week's show, we're going to have Will Powers. He's the founder and president of Concept Keys, and he's a micro-learning application expert. So it's extremely interesting stuff. I've met with him, and he's a great presenter, and his concepts are very helpful. So the thought for the week is: a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And that's a John C. Maxwell quote. And thank you for joining us at DFW Spotlight on Business. I'm Heidi Hardy, and don't forget to live your real life passionately.
Nice.
Bye.